Hi everybody, welcome to another one of my videos where I use exposure and response prevention therapy to help treat my choking phobia. Choking phobia is a fear of actually choking on food. Something I've struggled with for years. The basic phobia for me entails when I eat and the food is about to go down to my throat, where you get the bolus. The food is chewed with saliva, and as it goes to the back of your mouth, almost to the top of your throat, you're about to swallow, a thought comes to me that says I will choke, or people around me will choke if, for example, they're eating, or I will die alone, or I am choking. The food, before it even hits my mouth, I have these thoughts. I am choking, therefore it will prevent me from eating. It's an anxiety phobic disorder. It's a phobia, like any other phobia. For example, people have phobia of cockroaches, fear of flying. The best way to get over it is by doing it slowly in manageable steps, which is known as facing your fears, or in psychological speak, it's called exposure and response prevention. And exposure means you expose yourself to something you would not otherwise want to do. The response prevention is to do the thing that response prevention means you don't do the thing that makes you feel okay. For me, it would be listening to the Quran. I'm Muslim. I find that very peaceful while I have my choking phobia. I feel like the logical thought for me would be if I was to choke while listening to the Quran, I would die and go to heaven because God would think I'm a good person. There's a lot of thinking errors in there, a lot of black and white thinking, a lot of magical thinking. To be honest about that, even though as a Muslim, I don't believe praying to God is magical thinking. In psychology, this is a psychology channel, that is something that psychologists would say is magical thinking, right? This black and white thinking. There's this idea that what God's kind of got planned for you, because you think that God is you're in control of God's mind. When God's gonna do bad things to you, and more importantly, I think it's this idea that God's gonna put you in heaven, because God, you can have this exterior persona like a good person. You could be a horrible person on the inside. Look at the Roman Catholic churches, not all of them, but the priests. So it's really disgusting. You really got to look at it like God knows you more than you might even know yourself, and what you give off to people. So with that being said, the best way, as I said, to deal with choking phobia is to face it head on. That doesn't mean, like, for example, if you have been diagnosed with this, that you go to a steakhouse and get the biggest steak and say, this is how I'm going to get better. No, that's ridiculous. No one would expect you to do that. Just like if you have a fear of flying, no one's going to expect you to go to the airport and then go all the way to, London or something, over the ocean. No one's going to expect that. What they do expect is you to try, to do manageable steps. What that means is you rate your anxiety before you do it, first of all. Then you do as much as you possibly can of the anxiety, knowing full well you're anxious. And then you stop. That's it. That's all you have to do. And once you do that, over a long period of time, your body will become okay with this anxiety. Your body will realize this is a thought, not actually reality. And it will realize that it's okay to fly, it's okay to eat, as long as you take proper precautions. Like, for example, don't bring, lotions on board, or guns, or like fireworks, That's a good example. Don't bring fireworks on board. Seems like a good idea at the time, but it's not. Just like me ordering McDonald's when I should be eating, rice. My stomach feels very bad, but I know it's quick and easy, and I know it was either this. In my opinion, it was either this. It was not eating anything and starving for the rest of the day, or forcing myself to eat something that I know is bad for me. It's also gives me fuel. So those are the two choices at the moment. So first thing I'm gonna do is rate my anxiety on a scale of 1 to 100. 2 hash browns, a Coke. Thanks be to God, I don't feel it very high. To be honest, I feel it around I'm gonna be honest, I keep getting 10s. I see a 5 here, a 10 here. In my mind, I'm thinking, what's the best number to say? I'm honestly getting like a 10, so. And I honestly think that's how it's gonna stay. And we'll see, I'll try to be as mindful as I can. I feel a 10 here, so I'll say 10. Now you begin the exposure. You don't do anything else. You don't turn on your Quran, you don't pray to God, you don't, do anything else. You just do the exposure. So this is how it's done. And then you'll see. Now what you do, when you finish eating, or to continue the analogy, once the plane ride is over, you rate your anxiety and see the number now. Remember how I rated it before as a 10? You rate it again. And for me, it's a 10. And that's great. When you have anxiety that low level, you're considered basically anxiety free for that specific anxiety. Choking phobia. Or for this analogy to continue the analogy forward, you do this over and over again for the plane, you'll get over your phobia of flying, your fear of flying. It's the same thing. Fear of choking phobia, fear of flying. They call it fear of flying. If there's a word for it, flying phobia or something. So I'm gonna now go take my medication. And then I'm just gonna rant for a bit. And if you guys still want to hear my rant, well, continue watching. If you don't, you can end it here, and that's just exposure. That's just exposure from suspension. Some of this is like a video journal. I just want to get them things off my chest to talk about. So I'll be back. I need to take medication for my high blood pressure, because I have a horrible diet, and I don't know why I have high blood pressure. Maybe I'm just a very angry person. I don't know. I don't think that's true. But there's some reason. It's not important. I do though. I don't know why. I don't think I exercise. I think that's why. I think it's just because of my anxiety. I think it's my anxiety and lack of exercise. And I also need to take medication for my stomach acid reflux. Really horrible. I'm gonna take that right now. I'm back. I like Islam a lot. I hate Muslims. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them can be very stinky people. Well, what do I mean by that? They hate their own. It could be complex reasons and factors. Let's give you one anecdotal report. I used to work as a volunteer, a paid volunteer, at a mosque in Ramadan, where it's very, very busy. It's like our Christmas, but it's for a whole month. And there was, things happening at the mosque, basically from around 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. There'd be prayers, there'd be food, there'd be speeches, there'd be camaraderie, right? This is a big whole type of, come to the mosque and be part of the community. So I was there doing parking detail, making sure everyone was parking correctly. And, I'm a convert to Islam. I don't really know the ways of how, for example, Muslims interact with each other. And I don't think they realized I was a convert. They thought I was like just a regular Indian-born Muslim. Well, as I'm going around on my rollerblades, making sure people are parking correctly, they're not parking next to fire hydrants, they're not parking on the opposite side of the curb. For example, if all the cars are parked on this side, you can't have cars parked on this side because it's a no parking zone, it's a fire route. They're not parking in the condos, they're not parking on the curve, because if a street curves and a car parks on that curve, it's impossible for a car coming this way to see ahead of it. So they would have no cars. You'd have to park back a little bit on the road here so the car can actually see. No parking, in front of stop signs. No parking, basically, in places that is illegal. And I got a lot of, people who would not be happy with that. A lot of people who would look at me like, well, where am I supposed to park? And my polite answer was, well, there's a store about a block that way. You could park in that parking lot. I'm sure they're very nice people. And I wondered to myself, the real answer I want to give them is, you should have came here earlier. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, if this was that important to you that you're actually willing to look at me and be like, oh, you're so stupid at your job, and it's your fault that I'm late and now I can't find a parking spot. Isn't it found easier to just be like, you could have came earlier? Why is it my problem now that you've came late and I need to now find you a parking spot? Do you understand? Like, it boggles the mind. Like, why are you looking at me like it's my problem? So, of course, I'm polite and I say, well, there's a parking lot over there. And most people just look at me like, they give me side eye and they just drive off like they're in a hurry. Oh, where was that hurry when you were getting there earlier today? Anyway, it's just me, right? And I'm just saying things. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, they don't care. When they get in groups, when Muslims get in groups, they don't care what the other group would be thinking. I think it's more of an immigrant mentality than it is a Muslim mentality. Immigrants like people who look like them, think like them, because it brings a sense of home, a sense of ancestry. Because when you've left your place of origin, you want to keep things that keep it alive. One of those things is thinking the same way, acting the same way, dressing the same way, sharing the same culture. Even Hindus and Muslims who worship different gods, I can guarantee you, are very close. There's many Hindus that are Muslim friends. I have Hindu friends. I know many Hindus that are Muslim friends, many Muslims that are Hindu friends, many Muslims that are Muslim friends. It's there's like this camaraderie that I think exists, like between like French and Italians, I think. And it's weird because I was born in Canada. I consider myself like white. My parents are from Pakistan. I've been there once in my life. I'm Canadian. I'm what this country represents. And I think it wasn't until a couple of days ago I realized what Canada really represents, when I realized that our defense minister is brown. He's Hindu, or whatever, Sikh. And it's like, You don't see that in developing countries, at least that I know of. The cabinet is made out of people of color. I know that's not a big issue now in Canada. It is becoming now since the Trump effect and the Ford effect. It hasn't historically been that way. I was shocked though, because I was so uninterested in news, CBC News and elections about Canada and Canadian news. I thought it was very boring. Until the election rolled around, I started listening to it, reading about it, mostly just listening to it and watching it on TV, and I was like, this is really interesting. So there's that whole idea. So, as I said, I don't want this video to be banned for racism. I'm not a racist. I like Muslims, I love Muslims. When I meet Muslims, they're very nice people individually. When they get into groups like conferences, they expect you to think a certain way and act a certain way, and if you don't, they're gonna like gently prod you to do that. They're very welcoming and encompassing. Does that make sense? They're very welcoming and encompassing. And a lot of them are also very judgmental. If you don't have the prerequisite look, the prerequisite pedigree, right, you can't speak to certain people. They would look at you and laugh at you. I don't know what it is. I think it may just be a problem. Well, it's a problem that affects everybody, but I talk, like, I interact with, I don't talk, I'm not a talker. I interact with people who are brown on a semi-regular basis, and I see a lot of them are stuck up. And what I mean by stuck up is they're highly judgmental. If you don't, as I said, if you don't have the right pedigree, if you don't have the right look or attitude, for example, looking negative, for example, being sad is considered bad in Indian culture, which is odd because to be sad does not necessarily mean to be bad, right? Adolf Hitler was bad. Was he sad? Arguable. It's his life could have been sad, but I'm talking about, was he ever sad? Like, was he sad? I don't think he had a history of depression. He was a very happy, successful man. So what is bad then and sad? Somehow in our mind we assume bad and sad. If you're sad, it's because something bad happened. It's true. Most times when you have depression, it's because of some triggering effect. Sometimes though, it's genetics. So what are you gonna do? Take out your DNA sequencing profile and show them the genes that specifically say you're depressed to have the right pedigree? No, you're not gonna do that. No one's gonna do that, and yet that's what they expect of you. Where's the proof that you're sad? I don't see you're sad. You could go to work right now. What's wrong with you? Just eat. And it's only through real understanding. I hate it. I hate the stiflingness of it. You know that scene in the Titanic where Kate Winslet is talking about, she's at dinner and or lunch or whatever, and her family is talking about marrying her to this nice person, and all she could think about was screaming on the inside, but she couldn't because it would look bad, right? It would look at her. Same thing with depression. You feel like, acting out. And the thing is, there's no point in acting out because you end up feeling guilty afterwards. So then you actually have to be mindful of what you do. And when you become mindful, people look at you different, because most people aren't mindful. Especially brown people, look at you different. I'll give you an example. There was a party that was happening a couple days ago at my house. Okay, I felt ill. I wasn't invited to the party. Oh, hell no. I wasn't invited to the party because I don't know these people, even though they're my stepmom's friends. See, it was very traumatic what happened. My stepmom basically just came in my house 3 months after my dad left my mom, and there was no warning. There was nothing at all, nothing to tell me or my brother or my cat, for that matter, that my father was remarrying. It was fucked up. It was completely out of line for someone to do that. Like, okay, I get it, you divorced, and I get it that you want to find someone else, which is perfectly within your right. You know, I can pass judgment on you being a bad husband and father because that's what I believe. That doesn't mean you don't have any right to continue being a husband and father to other people. The only issue I had was the lack of warning. Utter and complete lack of warning. It's like you're blindsided. It's like you just got raped. And I mean it 100%. I mean what I'm saying here. Because when I walked in there, I didn't expect to see a brown lady in my kitchen, right? Wearing a shalwar kameez, right? Which is like a traditional Indian Pakistani dress. Next to her husband, my dad, saying, "Assalamu alaikum, Nizam, would you like some chocolate?" I mean, that's fucked. Because first thing I would think is, who is this person intruder in my kitchen? Because I see someone's talking to my mom, my father, but I don't know who it is. Like, is it a workman? But I already knew this beforehand. My brother said, "Oh, Dad got remarried. Have you seen the wife?" And then I was just like, "You're kidding me." It was pretty traumatic. It wasn't good how we were integrated into the family. He basically lied to his wife and said, "The sons are independent. Don't worry about them. They'll be out of your way. They go to school or whatever." In reality, we're just getting over one of the most traumatic things in our life. And my brother was dealing with his issues, and I was dealing with mine as well, as a homosexual as well. And, you know, I just recently converted to Islam, and I had my diagnosis of social anxiety. So it's not like, you know, I could afford to have another traumatic event in my life at this time. It was the worst timing, really, you could get. And, anyway, fast forward to years and years later, we've developed a sort of working relationship where we're, you know, she's my stepmom, and I consider her my stepmom, and it's very odd. I see people who I don't know in my house, and I have OCPD, and it really bothers me. It also harkens back to her, not, you know, she is like the impetus of she's the genesis of people entering my house I don't know, right? The genesis, the impetus, the progenitor. And from years and years later, that seedling is creating other people who are now coming into my house that I don't know. And let's be honest, it's not my house. It's my father's house. No doubt about it. That's a distinction I really never had to make, though, in my opinion. Because as I grew up, I came to this realization that my father's house is also my family's house. It's my house. It's my mom's house. It's my dad's house. It's my brother's house. And it's my cat's house. And I never really came to the realization that there are parts of my house that is, like, for example, for my mother. Never, except like her drawers, obviously, like her underwear drawer. You don't want to go looking through that. I mean, though, there was like, when she first moved here, she locked her section of the door. She got a bolt lock that could only be accessible from the other side. So we were locked in. We had to exit, go around the house, open the door with the key, and then unlock the interior of our house just to get from one part of our house to the other part. You know? It was very traumatic. It was very, and I remember even my because I'm a very easygoing guy. I say, okay, fine. She wants to put a lock on this, whether not right. I mean, it's an Islamic thing. You can have your own special area. Again, though, my brother, he was the one that said, "Did you hear?" He's the one that stopped me out of this thing. Don't be such a nice guy all the time. Don't be such a pushover. She just put she locked you in your room, in your house, because she doesn't like you. She just thinks you're I don't know, you're rude to her husband. Don't speak Urdu. You don't know the ways of this culture. Yada yada yada. You don't respect me. And there was a lot of that going along. And my brother couldn't take it. He the first chance he got, he you know, moved to my mom's house. I did not, because I had issues with my mom. She had difficulty with me coming out, and we were never really. It's kind of like a wasted opportunity in my relationship with my mom. I know she loves me. It's just there's a lot of bad blood, because, like, how dare you just hate me like that for something that I had no control over. And now I can hear her saying, "Oh, get over it." Well, fuck you, Mom. You get over it. You get over it. You get over your parents divorcing and then coming out to grandma. Have fun doing that, Mom. and then tell me you're gonna not bring it up 4, 5, 8 years later. It's gonna stick with you. It's gonna stick with you. Those things stick with you. They're your parents, and when they say something so rude to you for a reason, something that you had no, for example, when your mom yelled at you when you were younger for something you did that you had control over, like, I don't know, where you were drawing on the walls or talking back to her or just being fussy and not eating food, you would feel bad afterwards because you'd be like, oh, she's my mom, right? Now imagine that, except you had no control over this. It's like someone drawed on the walls and then they blamed you, said, oh, he did it. But the person knows he actually did it. So, you know, you'd feel horrible because you'd be like, Mom, I did not do this. This was not my fault. He did it. If you want to blame anybody, blame the genetics. And every day I just think, I'm never going to get closer to my mom. Because she's so, now she's just kind of like, I don't care about you anymore. Like, come see me if you want. I live alone. I mean, I live away from you, so you're more than welcome to see me. It's just become more like visiting, you know, a family friend now. It's not like visiting family. I don't have a family, like, in terms of some, except for my father, who kind of pretends to be my mom because he thinks it comforts me, when in reality I would just want him to just be himself. Maybe a bit kinder, you know. I'm out of place. I have no purpose. Everyone's upstairs. Anyway, let's go back to the story. So, let's go back to the culture. So, they told me beforehand, because they know I have OCPD, my dad, and my stepmom. We're going to rearrange everything downstairs, right? Except your room. We're going to vacuum, we're going to clean, we're going to move the couches, we're going to put a TV in, we're going to move the carpets, we're going to move all your hygiene things, we're going to move your food things and whatnot. I was like, okay, I guess. Like, I had to work at 4. I didn't realize I was not going to go work at this time. I said I had to work at 4, so whenever your party starts, I'll probably be out of your hair. They're like, that's perfect. The party starts at 6. But yeah, I mean, that's perfect. And then what happened was about around 3:30, I started feeling ill. I started feeling like very nauseous, dizzy, sweaty, and had a pain in my stomach. And I've been through this before. It's because of acid reflux. When you're acid reflux, like, sometimes I don't take my pills every day, but this day was a wake-up call because I got very sick that day. I also started getting a headache, and so I sat down for a bit, and then I basically said to everyone, I'm not going to go to work. I'm going to just be in my room. And so then they went out or something, and I called my dad. I asked him, can you give me some cheese? Because I was hungry. I remember I made my video that day. It's just I was hungry though, and still, and I really just wanted to eat something to settle my stomach. You know, so kind of like, all right, stomach, stop feeling nauseous. So my dad, I'm not sure what it is. He just didn't understand what I was trying to say. I said, Dad, can you give me some cheese? And I don't know what he said, but he basically didn't say yes, even though I tried to explain to him I'm sick and I can't do it myself. And he was just like, go get your own cheese, or I'm busy. I don't know what, but next thing you know, I'm in an argument with him, and next thing I know, I'm in my car getting my own cheese while I'm half sick. So I get the cheese. I'm already in a shitty mood because I get my own cheese and I'm sick and I couldn't been working. I'm in bed, and the people start coming in around 6:30, 7, right? I think it begins around 7:30, 8 o'clock, I want to say. It gets very loud and things are dropping. I don't say, I'm just in my room watching Star Trek, trying not to puke, right? And I haven't shaved, I haven't brushed my teeth, so I look horrible. I haven't changed my clothes or showered, so I look horrible. And I don't expect anyone to say anything less. You know, if my friends were there, they would say, you look horrible, you should take a shower. I'd be like, I would, except if I walk more than 5 minutes, I think I'm going to puke. So it's one of those days where you just kind of like lay in bed and just wait till you get better. Well, I had to what I had to do was, I was watching Netflix, and I wanted to change the TV source HDMI to my Xbox. which card my TV or card my TV remote, which I couldn't find. And I thought perhaps they went in my room, rearranged some of my stuff, and they know where my remote is. So I decided to do the most logical thing. Which is exit my room into the common area where the party was and look for my remote. I know, it sounds crazy. When you lose something, you actually got to get up and find it. So that's what I did. As I exited my room, this woman instantly, so there's 2 women there and maybe about 5 children in the room watching TV, I think. And there was another locked room where I think the guys were. So I guess there was this gender separation thing happening. Fine. As far as I know, what do you, like, I mean, I'll just continue with the story and see how this goes. Because, sure, you guys want to say this gender separation, that's an argument to be made. I'm not going to say it's true or not true. That's not what I heard, though. What I heard was me getting out of the room, and this woman, as I get out of the room and I look around by the TV and see what's going on, this woman turns to her friend, the other adult in the room, and says, "Who's he?" And she said it in such a way that I think she realized that she shouldn't have maybe said that, or she should have maybe said it in Urdu, or she may have maybe said it in a more silent tone, because everyone in the room heard it. And I instantly started feeling uncomfortable because I have social anxiety. When I walk into a social situation, the last thing I want to be heard is, "Who's he?" in a very inquisitive, demanding tone. So I'm aware of my appearance and how disheveled I look. And I look over at her. And then I look over by the TV, and I say to everyone in general, "Has anyone here seen a TV remote?" And then I walk in front of the whole group of children watching their TV, and no one says anything. And then I walk over to my food area. I thought maybe it was there. And then I turn around at her again, because I'm like, I'm not going to let this drop. You can't make me feel that way and have me feel okay with it. Like, I'm trying not to be a pushover anymore, or a spineless, or a shove-over. If someone's going to say something disrespectful to me, I'm going to call them out. I don't care if it's here. I don't care if it's outside. As long as they're not, I care more if it's here. It's my house, okay? Outside, people are crazy, but at least inside, this is my inner sanctum kind of like area. And if you have a problem with who I am, well, honestly, do you belong here? Or are you just a guest? So I'm sitting there, and I think I looked at her, and she's eyeing me down, and I say, "Oh, I live here." And then she looks at me like, and I said, "Oh yeah, Masood, I'm his son." Just like that. I didn't end it there. Then she looked at her, I think they traded a look or something, and she just looked at me. She looked at me, continued to look at me. Didn't break eye contact, but you could tell she was like kind of like, "How dare you say these words to me because I'm older than you or something, or I'm better looking than you, or I'm more well dressed. I'm not sick, therefore I'm better than you." I get it, she made a mistake. She shouldn't have said, who's he, in such a rude, adversarial, visceral tone, like trying to get me. Like, what do you expect me to say that? "Well, my name is Nizamuddin Bahadi. I live in 1197 Dreamcast Road. My social insurance number is," and blah, blah, blah. No. Right? Like, you don't say that to somebody and expect him to just cower and be like, "All right, I'll go back in my room now for the rest of my life." No. She said that, and I said this to her. And then what I did was I walked back into my room. I immediately called my father and said, "Dad, have you seen my remote control? Because you were moving my stuff around, and I was wondering if you saw it." He's like, "No." And then I was like, "Okay." And then I explained to him the story. I said, "Well, I went outside looking for it, and there was this," and I said it very loud and very I was almost shrieking. I said, basically, "Dad, and by the way, I went outside, and there was this woman there. As I was looking for my remote, she looked at me and she said, 'Who's he?' Like as if I don't even live here." And that's completely rude And he's like, okay, calm down. I'll come downstairs and help you. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to help me. I don't care anymore. It's horrible. Now she's hearing what I'm saying, and she's going to feel depressed, and this is ridiculous. And I was just hysterical by this point. I was just shrieking. And he comes downstairs and helps me find the remote. And, he defends my honor, or sticks up for me by, I guess, yelling at everybody in the room and saying, all right, stop making a mess and stop eating down here. Basically it was directed to the children. I guess the adults heard it too and kind of said, okay, I guess, just to make, my dad's a bully. That's how he protects me, by being a bully. And so he made them feel uncomfortable enough that one of them actually left, and I guess they agreed to just keep an eye on the kids with just one adult there. Because I found out later when I went to the bathroom, there was only one person there. And it was just so rude. How dare you? Who's he? Not like, oh, hi, how are you? Or assalamu alaikum. Just, who's he? Who the fuck? You know what I felt like saying? Now that I was thinking about it at the time. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are these little midgets in my room? Get the fuck out of here before I call the cops. How's that? For who's he, motherfucker? I'm sure if I said that, it'd be dead silent, except for the TV still playing. And I'm sure they would just start yelling at me, or maybe getting up in brown and saying Masood, and then next thing I know, it's just fuck. And maybe they'd just go upstairs and be like, all right, chalo, and all the kids would come upstairs. Next thing you know, my dad would come downstairs and be like, Nizam, did you yell at everyone downstairs? And then I'd be like, no. She said she didn't know who I, that kind of might have been a better idea. I'm going to start being more angry. Kidding. It's not going to work, but anger definitely helps you cut the point across better. Well, let's not lie here. Anger is wrong. It's wrong to be angry most of the time. Anger does, though. It's good under certain circumstances to get angry for God and whatnot, if someone's disrespecting your religion and, Islam. What I mean to say is, though, most of the time anger is wrong. It does, though, help in cutting through the bullshit, right? Because look at what would have happened. If I got angry at her, they would have left. My father would have called me and said, what happened? And I would have told him like that. Instead of me being just accepting myself, who are these people? Calling my father, saying, who are these people? This person yelled at me. I don't like these people. Then him coming downstairs, leaving his party to spend time looking for my remote, and then trying to non-verbally communicate to these people, respect this person. He's my son. Because it's so awkward to just been like, hey, you guys, just to let you know, my adult grown son, he is here. He lives here. I know that maybe not be as a popular opinion in some parts of the community. Unfortunately, I have balls unlike other people, and I am willing to be okay with this and to say this and let it out in the open. If you have any questions, you can go not hang out with me. That would be nice to say something like that instead of just being a bully. Just having a little class and being like, when they're cleaning the room, saying, oh, by the way, we'll let all our guests know that you live here with us as Masood's son. And I don't even care if they say tenant at this point. You know what I mean? I just want to be recognized. I'm not even joking. Even if they say something like, oh, and by the way, just so you're not going to be disturbed, we'll let them know you're a tenant, right? And so, they'll know who you are. It would make me feel better. Or just say, I understand it makes them feel uncomfortable in the traditional brown culture to say something like, your adult grown son is going to be here. He must be working at this time, right? He must be at school. Bubblehead school, Shamdam. And it's like, some people have mental mental illnesses that prevent them from doing these, things that everyone's supposed to be doing 24/7, which I get. It's just, when you have mental illness, it's not like you can be successful all the time. I don't know how to explain it, man. It's like, why are they so rude to me? Just because of how I talk? Or is it because of I was a man. Like, I can't control that I have testicles, right? And if you knew a damn shit about me, you know I'm bisexual. Like, I don't even understand, like, gender separation. But do you even know the thick ruling of a person who's bisexual? What's the gender separation rule in that? But you know what? Forget it. You know, I'm not going to get so angry about these things because it doesn't solve anything. Alright. I think it's a good time in the video. But I wanted to mention again how mental illness is kind of swept under the rug in a lot of these cultures. If you just look good, speak good, act good, you know, smell good, and comfortable with everybody, you'll get through no problems in life. No problem. At some point, though, you will face a test to discover who you really are. A mindless, yes man, okay with everybody? Or are you actually gonna look yourself in the mirror and be like, why am I here? Like, let's overanalyze the situation to death, because why the fuck not? Let's be vulnerable, for example. Or let's be depressed, for example. Or let's be anxious, for example. Or let's not eat food that's presented to us because I have choking phobia, for example. Or let's not go out and watch Netflix all day. Right? So these are the choices people make, and I just wish they were more like, no, it's never gonna happen. I just wish they're more like, oh, hello, how are you? You know? It's just the attitude of people. People are just, when I was younger, I sound like an old man now, because as they say, when I was in my 50s, you can go out and people would be so friendly with you, you'd wave and pick you up if you needed help. And it's like, it wasn't like that in the 90s, but at least people weren't as crazy. I feel like back then we had her crazy, but they were isolated and they came on the news. Nowadays, it's like everyone has like a minimum level of craziness. Once you walk out the door, they have their guard up. They have a minimum level of craziness they all operate with because they're all operating in the same field. Like when you get inside, you have a different level of craziness. Hopefully it's less. For some people, it's more. I would assume that's horrible, in my opinion. But I guess once you exit your house, the level of craziness most people have that they're operating at, just simply because of other people that are operating at it, because I just think gradually the minimum level of craziness of every person like in their homes has gotten up. People have gone crazy. So, all right, on that note, I'm gonna end it here. Just to recap, it went from a 10 to a 10, and I ranted for a bit. Okay, remember guys, stay with it.